Carter, this isn't the kind of class for someone like you. Professor Richard Whitman's voice drips with condescension as he stares down Devin Carter, the only black student in his advanced calculus class. The 60-year-old professor deliberately walks over to Devin's desk, picks up his perfectly solved homework, and drops it in the trash without looking. The paper lands with a soft thud that echoes through the silent room. 20 students watch in shock. Some fumble for their phones. Whitman returns to the board and scrawls an impossibly complex equation across the entire surface. His chalk scrapes aggressively against the blackboard. "Prove it. You solve this and I'll quit my job. When you fail, pack your bags and get out." Devin's jaw clenches. His fists tighten. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across his determined face as he slowly stands up. But what happened next would destroy more than just one man's career. Have you ever seen pure genius unleashed? 3 weeks earlier, Devin Carter had walked into Metro Community College's advanced mathematics competition prep course with nothing but a worn backpack and a dream. The scholarship competition would select only 5 students from across the region for full rides to state universities. The winner would take home a $10,000 prize that could change everything for his family. Professor Richard Whitman had built his reputation on results. 15 championship teams, dozens of students placed at top universities. His methods were proven, and his recommendations carried weight that could make or break academic careers. The local newspaper called him the mathematics kingmaker. But from day one, Devin noticed the pattern. When Sarah Carter, the star Asian student, got a problem wrong, Professor Whitman would patiently walk her through 3 different solution approaches. "Let's explore this together, Sarah. Mathematics is about understanding, not just answers." When Devin raised his hand to ask for clarification on the same type of problem, Whitman's response was ice cold. "Mr. Carter, if you can't follow along, perhaps you should consider auditing the remedial course downstairs." The class would fall silent. Devin would sink into his seat, burning with humiliation. The differential treatment became impossible to ignore. During group work, Whitman consistently paired Devin with the weakest students while giving advanced problems to others. "Let's be realistic about capabilities," he would mutter, loud enough for everyone to hear. Marcus Kim, the International Mathematics Olympiad bronze medalist from the elite prep school, could interrupt lectures with questions any time. "Excellent inquiry, Marcus. That shows real mathematical curiosity." But when Devin tried to contribute to discussions, Whitman would cut him off. "Let's let the prepared students speak first." The most crushing moments came after tests. Devin would score perfect marks, only to hear Whitman announce to the class, "Some of you clearly had help with these problems. Academic integrity matters more than grades." His eyes would linger on Devin just long enough for everyone to understand the implication. Devin's mother, Linda, worked double shifts at the hospital and cleaned offices on weekends to pay for his textbooks. She had sacrificed everything so her son could have opportunities she never had. "Baby, you're going to be the first Carter to graduate college," she would say, exhaustion etched in every line of her face. But the scholarship wasn't just about college anymore. It was about proving that talent didn't come with a zip code or a skin color. Devin had been teaching himself advanced topology during lunch breaks, devouring graduate-level textbooks in the library while his classmates socialized. He solved problems that weren't even assigned, driven by a pure love of mathematical beauty. The cruel irony was that Professor Whitman genuinely knew mathematics. His explanations were clear, his methods effective. He wasn't a fraud or an incompetent teacher. He was a skilled educator whose prejudices had blinded him to the very excellence sitting right in his classroom. 3 weeks into the course, the regional competition format was announced. It would be held at State University's main auditorium, televised live, with judges from Harvard, MIT, and Stanford. 500 spectators would watch. Local media would cover it extensively. The pressure would be intense, but the exposure was worth everything. Whitman gathered his chosen students after class. Sarah, Marcus, Jennifer Walsh from the homeschool program, Robert Kim, who had perfect SAT scores, and, surprisingly, Bethany Morrison, who had influential parents on the school board. "These 5 represent our best chance for victory," he announced. Devin wasn't included in that meeting. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the mathematics department chair, noticed the exclusion. A Latina woman who had fought her own battles in academia, she recognized the signs. "Professor Whitman," she said carefully during their next faculty meeting, "I've reviewed the practice test scores. Devin Carter has the highest average in the class." Whitman's jaw tightened. "Test scores don't measure everything, Elena. Competition requires mental fortitude, composure under pressure. Some students simply don't have the right temperament for high-stakes environments." But Dr. Rodriguez had been watching Devin work. She saw him arrive early, stay late, ask insightful questions when Whitman wasn't around to dismiss them. She witnessed the quiet determination in his eyes, the way he approached problems with creative solutions that even impressed the graduate student tutors. The competition was designed as a public showcase. Local news stations would broadcast live, university recruiters would be watching, corporate sponsors from tech companies had pledged additional scholarship money for exceptional performances. This wasn't just about academic achievement anymore. It was about who belonged in the world of advanced mathematics. As Devin sat in the back row watching Whitman's chosen students receive extra coaching and encouragement, one question burned in his mind. What would it take to prove that excellence couldn't be predicted by prejudice? The classroom eruption from Professor Whitman's humiliating challenge still echoes as Devin Carter stands frozen at the whiteboard. 20 pairs of eyes bore into him. Phone cameras capture every trembling breath. The equation sprawled across the board looks like hieroglyphics to most students, but Devin's mind is already racing through the mathematical landscape. This isn't just any problem. Whitman has written the graduate-level multivariable optimization challenge that would stump most PhD candidates. The constraint equations interweave like a spider web, variables dancing across multiple dimensions. It's the kind of problem designed to break spirits and crush confidence. Devin picks up the chalk with steady fingers. The room holds its collective breath. Sarah Carter leans forward in her seat, genuinely curious to see what happens next. Marcus Kim stops texting and pays attention for the first time all semester. Even the students in the back row who usually sleep through lectures are wide awake. "Take your time, Carter," Whitman says, his voice dripping with false encouragement. "We all know this is way above your level. No shame in admitting defeat early." But Devin doesn't respond to the taunt. Instead, he studies the problem with the intensity of a chess master analyzing a complex position. His eyes trace each equation, looking for patterns, connections, hidden relationships between the variables. 2 minutes pass in complete silence. Some students start shifting uncomfortably. Others exchange glances that seem to say, maybe Whitman was right after all. Then Devin speaks, his voice clear and confident. "Professor Whitman, there's an error in your constraint equation." The room temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. Whitman's smug expression falters for just a moment before returning full force. "Excuse me, Mr. Carter?" Devin points to the third line of the equation. "This boundary condition assumes the feasible region is closed, but your problem statement specifies greater than, not greater than or equal to. That makes it an open boundary, which completely changes how we approach the optimization." A few students gasp. Jennifer Walsh, the homeschooled prodigy, squints at the board and starts nodding slowly. She sees it too. Whitman's face begins to flush red. This wasn't supposed to happen. The problem came directly from his graduate school textbook, a classic that had stumped students for decades. "Mr. Carter, this problem has been used in advanced courses for years. Are you suggesting that university professors across the country don't understand basic mathematics?" "I'm just pointing out what I see, sir." Devin's voice remains calm, but there's steel underneath. "With a closed boundary, you can use standard Lagrange multipliers. With an open boundary like this, you need to analyze interior critical points and boundary behavior separately. Your setup would give a fundamentally wrong answer." The silence stretches like a taut wire ready to snap. Students pull out their phones, sensing that something historic is happening. The fluorescent lights hum overhead. Whitman's chalk-stained fingers clench into fists. "Fine," Whitman says through gritted teeth. "If you think you found some imaginary error in a time-tested problem, prove it. Solve the entire thing. Show your work. Demonstrate your supposed understanding." Devin nods once. "I will." "And when you fail miserably in front of everyone," Whitman continues, his voice rising with each word, "when you embarrass yourself and waste everyone's time with this pathetic display, you'll drop this course immediately. No arguments, no second chances. And when will I solve it correctly? Devin asks quietly. Whitman's laugh is harsh and bitter. That's not going to happen, boy, but if by some miracle you actually manage it, then yes, I'll honor my word. I'll quit my job. The room explodes in whispers. Students frantically text friends in other classes. This isn't just about a math problem anymore. This is about pride, prejudice, and the dangerous game of underestimating someone based on the color of their skin. Devin turns back to the whiteboard, chalk in hand. But could a 19-year-old community college student really solve what had stumped graduate students for years? Devin Carter approaches the whiteboard like a surgeon approaching an operating table. His movements are deliberate, methodical. The classroom has never been this quiet. Even the hallway noise from other classes seems muted, as if the entire building is holding its breath. Professor Whitman stands with his arms crossed, that familiar smirk playing across his lips. He's confident this will be over quickly. In his mind, he's already drafting Devin's dismissal from the program. The kid will crumble under pressure, make some elementary mistake, and learn his place once and for all. But Devin surprises everyone by starting with an eraser instead of chalk. He carefully wipes away a small section of Whitman's constraint equation, his movements precise and confident. The first issue, Devin says, his voice carrying clearly through the room, is right here in line 3. Professor Whitman has written x squared plus y squared less than or equal to 9. But if we read the original problem statement carefully, he pauses to pick up the textbook from Whitman's desk. It specifies strictly less than 9, not less than or equal to. A few students lean forward in their seats. Sarah Carter nods slowly, beginning to see the distinction. Marcus Kim stops scrolling through his phone and actually pays attention for the first time all semester. Devin continues, writing with clear, neat handwriting that contrasts sharply with Whitman's hasty scrawl. This might seem like a tiny difference, but in optimization theory it changes everything. A closed boundary means the maximum or minimum can occur exactly on the edge. An open boundary means we have to approach the edge but never quite reach it. Jennifer Walsh, the homeschooled math prodigy, whispers to her neighbor, "Oh my God, he's right. I missed that completely." Whitman's smirk begins to waver. This isn't going according to script. Mr. Carter, you're getting bogged down in technicalities. Just solve the problem. The technicalities matter, Professor. Devin replies respectfully but firmly. Watch what happens when we set this up correctly. He draws a clear coordinate system on a clean section of the board. His diagram shows a circle with a dotted line instead of a solid one, indicating the open boundary. With Professor Whitman's original setup, we'd use standard Lagrange multipliers and find our answer right on the boundary circle. But since the boundary is actually open, we need a different approach. Devin's chalk moves with confidence across the board. He writes out the corrected constraint equations, then begins calculating partial derivatives. His work is organized, logical, easy to follow even for students who don't understand advanced calculus. First, we check for critical points in the interior of the region, he explains, working through the calculations step by step. We set the gradient equal to 0 and solve the system. His algebra is flawless, each step clearly justified. The room is mesmerized. Even students who typically struggle with basic algebra can follow his reasoning. Devin has a gift for making complex mathematics feel accessible, breaking down intimidating problems into digestible pieces. Now comes the interesting part, Devin continues, moving to a fresh section of the board. Since we can't have a maximum or minimum exactly on the boundary, we need to analyze what happens as we approach the boundary from the inside. This requires taking limits. He sets up the limit calculation with the precision of a master craftsman. His handwriting remains neat even under pressure. There's no hesitation, no erasing, no second-guessing. This is pure mathematical intuition at work. Professor Whitman finds himself leaning forward despite his skepticism. The kid's approach is not only correct, it's elegant. More elegant than the standard textbook solution that Whitman had been teaching for 20 years. The interior critical point gives us a value of 4.7, Devin announces, circling his result. But when we take the limit approaching the boundary, we get 12.1. Since we're looking for a maximum, the answer is 12.1. He steps back from the board, chalk still in hand. Professor Whitman's original setup would have given us 7.3, which is wrong by almost 65%. In real-world applications like engineering design or economic optimization, that error could cost millions of dollars. The silence in the room is deafening. Students stare at the board, then at Devin, then at Professor Whitman. Phone cameras have captured every moment of this mathematical masterpiece. Whitman approaches the board slowly, his confidence evaporating with each step. He pulls out his calculator and checks Devin's arithmetic. The numbers are correct. He reviews the logic, looking for any flaw, any mistake he can point to. But Devin's reasoning is airtight. That's... Whitman's voice cracks slightly. He clears his throat and tries again. That's actually correct. The room erupts. Students start applauding. Someone whistles. Sarah Carter shakes her head in amazement. I've been studying calculus for 3 years, and I never would have caught that boundary condition error. Marcus Kim looks genuinely impressed for the first time since the semester started. Dude, where did you learn to solve problems like that? Devin sets the chalk down carefully on the tray. I spent a lot of time at the library. But Professor Whitman isn't ready to concede defeat. His face has gone from pale to red to a dangerous shade of purple. This wasn't supposed to happen. This couldn't be happening. Some community college kid from the wrong side of town doesn't just embarrass a professor with 25 years of experience. Congratulations, Mr. Carter, Whitman says, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. You solved one problem. Don't let it go to your head. The regional mathematics competition is a completely different level of pressure. We'll see how your supposed talents hold up when it actually matters. The bell rings, ending class. Students pack their bags while buzzing with excitement about what they just witnessed. They've seen something special, something they'll talk about for years. But as Devin walks back to his seat to gather his things, one question hangs in the air like an unfinished equation. If he could do this with one problem, what else was he capable of? Word spreads through Metro Community College like wildfire. By lunch, everyone knows about the math showdown in Professor Whitman's classroom. Students huddle around phones, watching shaky recordings of Devin Carter solving what looked impossible. The hashtag #HashMathGenius starts trending on campus social media. But for Devin, the victory feels hollow. He sits alone in the cafeteria, picking at a sandwich his mother packed before her double shift started at 5 a.m. The other students stare and whisper, but none approach his table. That afternoon, Dr. Elena Rodriguez calls Devin into her office. The mathematics department chair closes the door carefully and gestures for him to sit. Devin, we need to talk about the regional mathematics competition, she begins. The format changed this year. It's no longer a small academic event. She slides a glossy brochure across her desk. The cover shows State University's massive auditorium packed with spectators. 500 seats, live television broadcast, local news coverage, university recruiters from Harvard, MIT, Stanford. Devin's stomach tightens. How much is at stake? The winner gets $25,000, guaranteed internships, and automatic consideration for graduate programs at top universities. We're talking about a $250,000 career boost. The pressure suddenly feels crushing. This isn't just about proving Professor Whitman wrong anymore. The competition has 3 rounds now, Dr. Rodriguez continues. Speed calculations in front of the live audience, proof construction under time pressure, and advanced problem solving with graduate-level challenges. Devin thinks about his opponents. Marcus Carter from Westfield Prep, trained by professional tutors since middle school. Jennifer Walsh, homeschooled by PhD parents, competing internationally since age 12. Robert Kim, bronze medalist at the International Mathematics Olympiad. Professor Whitman has been coaching teams for 15 years, Dr. Rodriguez says. His students have systematic advantages. They know the format, the pressure, the typical problems. You're saying I don't have a chance. I'm saying the playing field isn't level. She leans forward. But you see mathematics differently, more creatively. Your solutions are elegant in ways that make me think about math in new ways. She pulls out a thick folder. I've been reviewing your work. You don't just solve problems, Devin. You find beautiful solutions. Devin feels hope, tempered by reality. These other students have been preparing their whole lives. I've been studying advanced math for less than a year. Sometimes fresh eyes see what experienced ones miss, she replies. But the competition will be brutal. The audience will scrutinize every move. Professor Whitman will be the expert commentator analyzing performances live on television. The weight settles over Devon. This isn't just about solving math problems. It's about representation. Proving talent doesn't come with a zip code or skin color. There's one more thing, Dr. Rodriguez adds. You're not on Professor Whitman's recommended list. I used my authority as department chair to add you as an independent entry. You'll compete without coaching, without team support, completely on your own. She walks to her window. Devon, this isn't just a math competition anymore. It's a public spectacle. Your performance will be judged on technical merit and your ability to handle pressure most adults never face. Devon takes a deep breath. He thinks about his mother working double shifts, the shabby apartment they call home, the dreams sustaining him through years of being underestimated. Dr. Rodriguez, he says quietly, if I can handle Professor Whitman's classroom humiliation, do you really think a televised competition will break me? But could raw talent and determination really overcome years of elite preparation and systematic advantages? 18 days until competition. Devon Carter stares at the countdown calendar taped above his desk in the tiny bedroom he shares with his younger brother. The pressure feels like a weight on his chest, but he channels it into pure determination. Week 1 begins with a revelation. Devon discovers the competition includes differential geometry and abstract algebra, topics never covered in his community college courses. While his elite opponents have been studying these subjects for years, he has to master them from scratch. But Devon has always been resourceful. He haunts the university library, checking out graduate textbooks that other students won't touch until their senior year. The concepts are dense, intimidating, filled with notation that looks like hieroglyphics. But slowly, patterns emerge. Connections form. Mathematics begins to reveal its deeper beauty. Sarah Carter notices him struggling with a particularly brutal topology problem during lunch. Despite everything, she slides her advanced textbooks across the table. Don't tell anyone I helped you, she whispers, glancing around nervously. It's a small kindness that means everything. Devon spends that night devouring her notes, her highlighted passages, her margin comments. He realizes Sarah isn't just memorizing formulas, she understands the underlying principles. For the first time, he has a study partner, even if it's a secret one. The mini victories start accumulating. Devon solves practice problems faster than expected. He develops shortcuts that even impress Dr. Rodriguez's graduate student tutors. His natural intuition begins complementing his newly acquired technical skills. But Professor Whitman refuses to provide any coaching support. Mr. Carter made his choice when he embarrassed this program, he tells Dr. Rodriguez coldly. He can prepare on his own. The rejection stings, but Devon adapts. He creates his own training regimen, speed drills during breakfast, proof construction during bus rides to work, complex problem-solving late into the night after his part-time job at the grocery store. Week 2 brings crushing setbacks. Devon's manager at the store demands longer hours to cover for employees who quit. His study time gets cut in half just when he needs it most. Exhaustion creeps in. His concentration wavers during a practice session with Dr. Rodriguez's graduate students, and he bombs spectacularly. Maybe I'm not ready for this level, he confesses to Dr. Rodriguez after a particularly brutal practice round. His confidence is shaken. The elite competitors have been training with professional tutors for years. How can he possibly compete? But Dr. Rodriguez sees something in Devon that he can't see in himself. She arranges secret practice sessions with graduate students who volunteer their time. They're amazed by his creative approaches to problems they've been solving conventionally for years. You don't think like other students, explains Maria, a PhD candidate in pure mathematics. You see patterns that escape most people. Don't try to compete with their preparation. Compete with your intuition. The breakthrough comes during week 2 when Devon develops a novel approach to a classic optimization problem. Instead of following the standard algorithmic method, he visualizes the solution geometrically. The result is not only correct, but elegantly simple. Dr. Rodriguez stares at his solution for a full minute. Devon, this technique isn't in any textbook I know. Where did you learn this? I didn't learn it. he replies quietly. I just saw it. But the obstacles keep mounting. Anonymous threats appear on social media about affirmative action students who don't belong. The comments are vicious, personal, designed to break his spirit. Devin's mother finds him reading them late one night, tears of frustration in his eyes. Baby, they're not afraid of you failing, she says, pulling up a chair beside his desk. They're terrified of you succeeding. That tells you everything you need to know. Her words become his armor against the cruelty of strangers. Week 3 brings the final push. Devin achieves perfect scores on speed calculation drills. His proof construction becomes airtight, his logic unassailable. But then he learns something that nearly breaks his resolve. Marcus Carter has been training with the same professional tutoring company that coached 3 of the last 5 International Mathematics Olympiad winners. Jennifer Walsh spends 40 hours per week in structured preparation. Robert Kim has access to problem sets that cost more than Devin's family makes in a month. The financial disparity becomes a crushing weight. Devin's textbooks are used, pages falling out, highlighter faded from previous students. His calculator is a basic scientific model, while his competitors use graphing calculators with computational power that rivals small computers. But the cruelest discovery comes from an overheard conversation in the hallway. 2 faculty members discussing the upcoming competition don't know Devin is listening. It's unfortunate about the Carter boy, one says. Rodriguez means well, but she's setting him up for public humiliation. These elite students will destroy him. The television coverage will make it worse, the other replies. Everyone will see that natural talent only goes so far. Proper preparation and resources matter most at this level. Devin slumps against the wall, feeling defeated. Maybe they're right. Maybe he's deluding himself. Maybe Professor Whitman was correct from the beginning. That evening, his mother finds him staring at his textbooks without reading. The weight of expectation has become unbearable. His neighborhood is following the story. The local barbershop has started taking bets. Everyone expects him to represent more than just himself. I don't know if I can do this, Mom, he admits. These other students have advantages I can't compete with. Professional coaching, unlimited resources, years of preparation. Linda Carter sits beside her son, her hands rough from years of cleaning offices and working double shifts. Devin, let me tell you something about advantages. Rich folks think money buys everything, but there's one thing it can't buy: hunger. She points to his stack of worn textbooks, his pages of handwritten notes, his calculations covering every available surface. Look at this room. Look at how hard you've worked. Those other students have tutors and fancy equipment, but you have something they don't. What's that? You have something to prove. They're competing for trophies and college applications. You're competing for your life, for your future, for everyone who ever told you that you don't belong. Devin looks at his reflection in the darkened window. 3 weeks ago, he was just another community college student trying to get by. Now he's preparing for the most important 18 minutes of his life. Mom, what if I fail? What if I embarrass myself on television in front of everyone? She takes his face in her hands. Baby, you've already won. Win or lose, you've shown them that excellence comes from unexpected places. But tomorrow, when you walk into that auditorium, remember this. You didn't just earn your place on that stage. You conquered it. But as Devin stares at his reflection, one question haunts him. Would determination and natural ability be enough to overcome years of systematic advantages and elite preparation? 2 days before the competition, Sarah Carter approaches Devin with trembling hands and a manila folder clutched to her chest. Her face is pale, her usual confidence replaced by nervous energy that makes Devin's stomach drop. Devin, I found something, she whispers, glancing around the empty library corner where they've been secretly studying. Something you need to see. She slides the folder across the table. Inside are photocopied pages that make Devin's blood run cold. Official competition materials, problem sets, solution guides, all marked with Professor Whitman's handwriting and dated from 5 years ago. What is this? Devin asks, though he's starting to understand. Professor Whitman helped create the Master Problem Bank for regional competitions. Sarah explains, her voice barely audible. These are practice problems that are virtually identical to what will appear in the actual competition. Devin flips through page after page of familiar-looking equations. His heart sinks as he recognizes the problem structures, the specific mathematical techniques, even some of the exact wording from questions he's seen his classmates practicing. Marcus, Jennifer, Robert, they've all been drilling these problems for months, Sarah continues. They think they're just doing advanced practice work. They don't realize they're essentially rehearsing the actual test. The magnitude of the betrayal hits Devin like a physical blow. While he's been struggling to master entirely new concepts from scratch, his competitors have been practicing the exact problems they'll face. It's not just an unfair advantage, it's systematic cheating disguised as preparation. Sarah, why are you showing me this? She looks directly at him, her eyes filled with something Devin has never seen before. Respect. Because what you did in that classroom 3 weeks ago, that was real mathematics. Pure problem-solving skill. What we've been doing is just memorization. Devin stares at the papers, feeling his confidence crumble. Every small victory, every breakthrough moment, every sign of progress now feels meaningless. He's been training for a boxing match while his opponents have been choreographing a dance. I could report this, Sarah says quietly. Get the competition canceled or postponed, but that would destroy everyone's chances, including yours. Devin shakes his head slowly. No, that's not who I am. But the revelation forces him to confront an impossible reality. His opponents aren't just better prepared, they've been systematically gaming the system. Professor Whitman hasn't just been withholding support, he's been ensuring Devin fails while his chosen students succeed. The question that burns in Devin's mind isn't whether he can win anymore. It's whether authentic mathematical understanding can triumph over institutional manipulation. Sarah closes the folder. Devin, there's one thing those practice problems can't teach them. What's that? How to think when they encounter something they've never seen before. But would that be enough when the cameras started rolling and the pressure became unbearable? Competition day arrives with crushing weight. State University's auditorium buzzes with 500 spectators, television crews, and university recruiters. Devin Carter sits backstage, hands trembling as he stares at the floor. The other competitors look relaxed, confident. Marcus Carter jokes with his professional tutor. Jennifer Walsh reviews notes casually. Robert Kim stretches like an Olympic athlete. Devin sits alone. No coach, no support team, just him and the crushing weight of representation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Regional Mathematics Championship. The crowd erupts. Devin's stomach lurches. Round 1, speed calculations, 6 competitors, 45 problems, 15 minutes. Problems flash on enormous screens visible to the entire audience. Devin's worst nightmare. Rapid-fire questions rewarding drilling over understanding. The bell rings. Devin's mind goes blank. Around him, calculators click frantically. Marcus Carter blazes through problems with mechanical precision. Their months of practice with nearly identical questions shows immediately. Devin struggles with the format, pressure, blinding stage lights. By the time he finds rhythm, he's already behind. Results flash on screen. Marcus Carter, 42 correct. Jennifer Walsh, 40 correct. Devin Carter, 31 correct. 4th place out of 6, barely qualifying for round 2. The audience murmurs disappointment. Professor Whitman, providing television commentary, doesn't hide satisfaction. Speed and accuracy separate prepared students from the hopeful ones. During break, reporters swarm the lobby. Devin overhears fragments. Perhaps expectations were set too high. Natural talent only goes so far. The pressure got to him. His mother sits in the 3rd row, face showing forced encouragement. But Devin sees the worry, the realization her son might be getting humiliated on live television. Round 2, proof construction. Build logical mathematical arguments in 20 minutes, writing on whiteboards visible to everyone. Devin's problem involves group theory, a subject he studied but never mastered. Competitors draw from years of formal training. Their proofs unfold with textbook precision. Devin approaches creatively, seeking elegant insights. But creativity takes time he doesn't have. Halfway through, he realizes he's made a fundamental error in step 3. The logical chain breaks completely. 10 minutes to start over or submit incomplete work. Panic sets in. The auditorium falls silent, watching his visible struggle. Cameras zoom in, capturing every moment of confusion. This is mathematics as a public spectacle, and Devin is failing in front of everyone who believed in him. He submits his proof knowing it's fundamentally flawed. Results are devastating. Marcus Carter and Jennifer Walsh advance with near-perfect scores. Robert Kim qualifies despite minor errors. Devin Carter finishes 5th out of 6, eliminated. The auditorium buzzes with whispers. Professor Whitman's commentary carries over television. This outcome illustrates why rigorous preparation matters more than raw potential. Competition mathematics requires systematic training that can't be improvised. Devin sits paralyzed by humiliation. Everything Professor Whitman said seems to be coming true. Maybe he really doesn't belong here. Maybe natural ability isn't enough. During the break, Devin finds himself alone in a corridor outside the auditorium. Crowd sounds fade to distant hum. He slumps against the wall, head in hands. Dr. Rodriguez finds him there, tears burning his eyes. "I failed," he whispers. "Everything Professor Whitman said about me was right. I'm just some community college kid who got lucky once." Dr. Rodriguez sits beside him on the cold floor. "Devin, do you remember why you fell in love with mathematics?" "Because," his voice cracks, "because it was beautiful. Because when everything else was unfair, math just was." "Exactly. Win or lose, that's still true. That beauty you see, that's what they can't teach from a problem bank." Devin wipes his eyes and looks through the doorway at the stage where final competitors prepare for round 3. "I'm not even competing anymore. It's over." "No," Dr. Rodriguez says firmly, "it's not." But how could a failed competitor find redemption when cameras had already captured his defeat? "Wait!" Dr. Rodriguez stands up in the corridor, her voice cutting through Devin's despair. "There's something you don't know about round 3. Devin looks up, eyes still red from crying. "What do you mean? I'm eliminated. It's over. The competition rules changed this morning. There's a special exhibition round after the official competition ends." She pulls out her phone, showing him an updated schedule. "Any eliminated competitor can volunteer to attempt an unsolved challenge problem. No prizes, no rankings, just pure mathematics." Devin's heart pounds. What kind of problem? Something nobody has seen before. Something that can't be practiced or memorized. She looks directly at him. Something that rewards exactly the kind of thinking you do naturally. Through the doorway, they watch Marcus Carter and Jennifer Walsh preparing for the final round. Both look confident, relaxed. They've executed their preparation flawlessly. The championship will come down to who makes fewer mistakes on problems they've essentially already solved. But Devin feels something stirring inside him. Not the desperate panic of the first 2 rounds, but something deeper. The same feeling he had when he first spotted Professor Whitman's error 3 weeks ago. "Dr. Rodriguez, I want to try the exhibition problem." 20 minutes later, the official competition concludes. Marcus Carter claims victory with a technically perfect performance. Jennifer Walsh finishes a close second. The audience applauds appropriately. Interviews begin. Scholarships are awarded. But then the announcer's voice returns to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special exhibition challenge. Any competitor may attempt to solve a problem that has never been seen before." The auditorium buzz grows louder. This wasn't part of the scheduled program. Cameras refocus on the stage where a new problem appears on the massive screens. It's a monster, a hybrid optimization topology problem involving 4-dimensional geometric transformations with applications to quantum computing theory. The kind of challenge that would make graduate students panic and professors pause to think. Marcus Carter shakes his head immediately. "I'm satisfied with my performance today." And Jennifer Walsh studies it for 30 seconds before declining. "This is beyond the scope of undergraduate mathematics." Robert Kim doesn't even approach the board. The auditorium falls silent. Nobody volunteers. The problem seems destined to remain unsolved. Then Devin Carter stands up from the eliminated competitors section. The crowd murmurs in surprise. Professor Whitman's voice carries over the television commentary. "Mr. Carter, who struggled significantly in the structured rounds, has volunteered for the exhibition challenge. This is unexpected." Devin walks to the whiteboard setup center stage. 500 pairs of eyes focus on him. Television cameras zoom in. But this time he doesn't feel panic. He feels clarity. He has 45 minutes and 3 large whiteboards. No time limit extensions. No second chances. Just him, the problem, and the pure mathematics he fell in love with years ago. For the first 10 minutes, Devin does something that surprises everyone. Absolutely nothing. He stands in front of the problem, hands behind his back, just thinking. The audience grows restless. Some people start checking their phones. Professor Whitman's commentary grows cutting. Mr. Carter appears frozen by the complexity. This problem requires immediate action, systematic approaches. Standing still accomplishes nothing. But Devin isn't frozen. His mind is working at levels that others can't see. He's not just reading the problem. He's feeling its structure, sensing the hidden connections, looking for the mathematical poetry buried in the complexity. Then he starts to move. First, he draws a simple two-dimensional analogy on the leftmost board. Something elegant and visual that makes the four-dimensional concept accessible. Even non-mathematicians in the audience can follow his logic. The key insight, Devin says, his voice carrying clearly through the silent auditorium, is recognizing that this isn't actually a four-dimensional problem disguised as complexity. It's a two-dimensional problem with hidden symmetries. He moves to the center board and begins mapping out these symmetries. His approach is unlike anything in textbooks. Instead of brute force calculation, he's finding patterns that simplify everything. Jennifer Walsh leans forward in her seat, fascinated despite herself. I've never seen this approach before. Marcus Carter stops texting and watches intently. Devin's third insight transforms the entire problem. He realizes that the quantum computing applications create constraints that actually reduce the complexity rather than increase it. What looked impossible becomes manageable. His whiteboard work became a masterpiece of mathematical art. Clean equations flow logically from simple principles. Each step builds naturally on the previous one. There's no wasted motion, no false starts, no corrections. The audience falls completely silent. Even the television commentators stop talking. Everyone senses they're witnessing something extraordinary. Professor Whitman, the lead judge interrupts the commentary. Can you explain Mr. Carter's approach? For the first time all day, Professor Whitman hesitates. His methodology is unconventional. I'm not familiar with this technique. Devin moves into the final phase of his solution. Mathematics becomes beautiful, almost artistic. He's not just solving a problem, he's revealing the elegant structure that was hidden inside the complexity all along. With 5 minutes remaining, Devin steps back from his board. His solution is complete, comprehensive, and breathtakingly original. The head judge, a professor from MIT, approaches the boards with her team. They study Devin's work intensively, checking each step, verifying each logical connection. The auditorium holds its collective breath. This is remarkable, the judge announces into her microphone. Mr. Carter hasn't just solved the problem. He's developed an entirely new methodology that we haven't seen in the academic literature. She turns to face Devin directly. Where did you learn this technique? Devin's voice is quiet but clear. I didn't learn it anywhere, ma'am. I developed it myself while studying in the library. The auditorium erupts. Students jump to their feet. His mother cries in the third row. Even some of the eliminated competitors begin applauding. But the moment that makes everything worthwhile comes when the head judge turns to Professor Whitman's commentary booth. Professor Whitman, as our expert analyst, can you provide your assessment of this solution? Professor Whitman stares at the boards, his face cycling through emotions. Confusion, recognition, dawning realization, finally, defeat. The solution is... His voice cracks slightly. He clears his throat and tries again. The solution is mathematically sound, more than sound, it's brilliant. The word hangs in the air like vindication itself. Devin doesn't celebrate. He simply nods respectfully to the judges, to his competitors, and to the audience. Then he walks calmly back to his seat. But the question that will haunt Professor Whitman forever has already been answered in front of 500 witnesses and thousands of television viewers. What happens when prejudice meets genuine excellence on a level playing field? The applause dies down, but the real shockwaves are just beginning. Dr. Margaret Stevens, the head judge from MIT, approaches Devin with a sealed envelope. Mr. Carter, 3 months ago, Dr. Rodriguez submitted your classroom work to the International Mathematics Society. Devin's eyes widened. She did what? Your solution, where you corrected Professor Whitman's error, caught our selection committee's attention. She hands him the envelope. You've been awarded the Young Mathematician of the Year prize. Devin's hands shake as he opens it. $50,000. Full graduate school funding. Automatic admission to any mathematics program in the country. Your exhibition performance will be published in the Journal of Advanced Mathematics, Dr. Stevens continues. Unprecedented for an undergraduate. The announcer's voice booms. Ladies and gentlemen, will Professor Whitman please join us on stage? Professor Whitman approaches the microphone reluctantly, his face pale. The weight of his public promise hangs heavy in the air. Professor Whitman, the announcer continues, do you have something to say about Mr. Carter's performance? The auditorium falls silent. 500 people wait for his response. Whitman takes the microphone, hands visibly shaking. 3 weeks ago, I promised that if Devin Carter could solve a certain problem, I would quit my job. The crowd holds its breath. Today, Devin hasn't just solved one problem, he's developed mathematical techniques that will advance the field. His voice breaks slightly. I made a promise, and I intend to keep it. He looks directly at Devin. Effective immediately. I'm resigning my position. The auditorium explodes in shocked murmurs. Students frantically text. Reporters scramble. But Dr. Stevens has one final twist. Professor Whitman, Harvard University has just offered Devin direct admission to our PhD program with full funding. She turns to Devin with a smile. Mr. Carter, would you like to make any statement? The microphone waits. Cameras focus. The entire auditorium holds its breath. But what could Devin possibly say that would capture this impossible moment of complete vindication? Devin steps to the microphone, looking out at 500 faces that have witnessed his journey from humiliation to triumph. His voice is quiet but carries clearly through the silent auditorium. 3 weeks ago, Professor Whitman told me I didn't belong in his classroom. Today I learned that belonging isn't something others give you. It's something you prove to yourself. He pauses, looking directly at his mother in the third row. I want to thank Dr. Rodriguez for seeing potential when others saw problems, Sarah Carter for sharing her books when she didn't have to, and my mom who worked double shifts so I could chase equations instead of just dreams. The audience erupts in sustained applause, but Devin isn't finished. Professor Whitman, he says, turning toward his former teacher, you don't need to resign. You're a good teacher who made a human mistake. But I hope you'll remember that talent doesn't come with a predetermined address or appearance. The auditorium falls silent at this unexpected grace. Later, away from cameras, Professor Whitman finds Devin in the parking lot. I owe you more than an apology. I let assumptions blind me to your abilities. That failure was mine, not yours. Devin extends his hand. Professor, mathematics taught me something. Every problem has a solution if you're willing to see it differently. 6 months later, Devin enrolls at Harvard but spends weekends volunteering at Metro Community College. The mathematics program has tripled its enrollment. Students from every background now see advanced mathematics as accessible, not exclusive. The local barbershop still has that first newspaper clipping framed on their wall. Community college student solves the unsolvable. But the real victory isn't captured in any headline. It's in the young girl from Devin's old neighborhood who now raises her hand confidently in calculus class. It's about an immigrant student who applies to graduate school despite his accent. It's in every person who refuses to let others define their mathematical potential. Devin Carter's story isn't just about mathematics. It's about the dangerous mathematics of prejudice, how we subtract potential, divide opportunity, and multiply injustice through the simple act of assumption. But here's the beautiful equation. When authentic talent meets genuine opportunity, the result is always greater than the sum of its parts. Have you ever underestimated someone based on what you thought you knew about them? Have you ever underestimated yourself? Share this story if you believe excellence doesn't have a color, zip code, or predetermined path. Subscribe to Black Soul Stories to see more stories about the mathematics of human potential. What story of underestimation and triumph have you witnessed? Tell us in the comments below.